If not,
No, there's no
then I
evidence
think
of this. That
of
that's a,
what?
that is literally grasping for straws. That is nuts.
I knew that. That's why I voted Trump this time. This is my first time voting Trump. Just like in 2016 when he said he was going to build that wall, I, as a Latino, knew he wasn't going to build it. But then lots of people.
And do you support Trump?
Yeah, of course.
And if the election were held today, Harris versus Trump, who would you rather vote for?
Trump.
Okay, and why do you support Trump?
Many reasons. The Dignity Act. Also,
You said the what act?
it took the Dignity Act,
Yeah, and what's that?
and also, you don't know what that is?
No, I actually don't.
Oh man. It's also backed up by Democrats. It's sad it took Republicans to do it, but it's basically like DACA. I'll just say it like that. Maybe you can explain it better, but it's basically like DACA, and I think it's better for, especially for Latinos.
Has it passed?
No, not yet, but it's going to.
Okay, yeah, this is it.
I have the same
Wait,
energy as.
wait,
Hold on.
you
I
say
have
it's
this.
going to. What source do you have it's going to? Just been introduced.
Yeah, that's my source that it's been introduced. I just
Yeah,
have the
it
same.
being introduced does not mean it's going to be passed.
But then the same way people tell me like Project 2050, or when they're gonna revoke birthright citizenship, or when they tell me they're gonna build that wall, that's not gonna pass. But people tell me like it is. So I take the same energy as that with the Dignity Act. Why can't I think both things are gonna happen?
Hey, Parker. So I didn't even realize who you were talking to, but I've already told him that. Just an FYI for you and everyone else, with the Dignity Act, that is the first piece of Republican-led legislation to address anything when it comes directly to the border. And not only is this something that is not going to pass, it's something that the Republican Party, even though it's Republican-led, they are actively railing against and turning on the Republican member of Congress that tried to introduce this. So they are so far away from being able to pass that piece of legislation that they're trying to oust the Republican member of Congress who wanted to introduce it. So while I do think the Dignity Act is at least some type of step in the right direction to try to address the border, which Donald Trump promised, the Republican Party overwhelmingly has said no, and they're not only pushing back on it, but they're trying to get rid of the person. So I think that doesn't make sense. Anyway, I appreciate you.
So are you
Drop
answering
down.
for him? I
Mhm.
didn't. What was the point of that?
The point of that was
He
calling
wanted to
out the
come up
fact
and
that
say
Did
this
you
real quick.
did you speak for him? I'm confused.
no,
Hey, El
no, the
Predictor,
point.
he texted me. He wanted to come up and say that real quick to add on to the conversation, and I was letting him do that. Why are you crashing out, bro?
Well, he's
I didn't mean to
crashing out
crash out.
because it
I was asking.
completely shuts down his talking point that he thought he had, and he's trying to bring up the Dignity Act because not a lot of people know about it, and that's why he's reaching for this like far fringe piece of legislation. But I just so happen to actually do a deep dive into it because it's something that I've talked about, and now he's upset that he doesn't have that talking point anymore.
No,
Anyway, Parker, I
I
appreciate
told
you.
him it didn't pass. I said it's basically like DACA.
Sure, I'll keep listening. I appreciate you, Parker.
Appreciate you. So, what was your point for this?
Yeah, so the Dignity Act, I'm like that he's eventually going to pass that. Another thing
You like
is
that Trump is? When has Trump said that he supports this?
I looked into it, so he doesn't really endorse it like Democrats do. I feel like Democrats really want like a verbal endorsement, but how I see it is Trump is not really a Trump has pride, so he's not really going to speak on it like that, especially not speak against people who are totally against
So, how do you
immigration.
know that he supports it?
So because strong leaders who are around him support it, like Rob DeSantis, and also I think I forgot her name. She's a Latina, Maria Salazar, I believe, and also
Yeah, Ron DeSantis and Marina Salazar specifically supporting it is not evidence that Trump would support it.
well, Trump has a record of supporting amnesty, right? So for me, when lots of Republicans, especially high profile ones, are speaking on it with a pattern of Trump, I think he supports it. If not,
No, there's no
then I
evidence
think
of this.
of what?
That is literally grasping for straws. That is nuts. To say because one Republican supports it, that means Trump has got to support it is the most ridiculous thing ever. That's like saying like Thomas Massey because he's Republican supports something.
Right.
That means that Donald Trump supports it.
Okay, then I'll concede. Then I'll wait for Trump to support it. Maybe I'll come back to that if I can stick
Has
on
he indicated
immigration.
that he disagrees with this? Because this would provide undocumented immigrants a
No, he
pathway to
doesn't
legal
disagree with it.
status under certain conditions.
No, he doesn't disagree with it. If anything, if you see Trump right now, I think he's listening to lots of people on immigration. He's fired Kristi Noem. beautiful Christy Nome. He's fired Gregory Bovino, and also didn't I forget his name. Someone with the border something got fired yesterday or 2 days ago, or he resigned. And also the operations in Minnesota got shut down. I live in Charlotte. Operation Charlotte's Web got shut down. So I think Trump is taking accountability and also listening to people who are saying, "Hey, you're treating people unfairly," and also ICE has gone too far. And now they're all wearing body cam footage, and lots of them are being pulled over for training. And I
Was
think
that
also
due to
he's not
Trump's
gonna
policies,
wait.
or
One
did
last
Trump
point.
specifically reduce the level of training and reduce the level of
Say that
accountability
again.
for ICE? Trump reduced the level of training and accountability for ICE.
Okay.
So how could you try to say that he's increasing that?
Because we're talking about Trump, a man of pride, who basically you guys say he's a king, sometimes say a dictator, blah blah blah. How
He's
I
a
see it
wannabe
is
dictator. He's a wannabe king.
okay, great, say that right. How I
Yeah.
see it is he's taking accountability and going against that.
When
He's
has he
actually
ever taken
lowering,
accountability for anything?
like you just like what I just said. He shut down Operation Charlotte's Web, shut down
That's not him
the
taking
operations in
accountability.
Minnesota.
That's him seeing a bad PR campaign.
What do you mean? We're not seeing a mass deportation like he's campaigned. I knew that. That's why I voted Trump this time. This is my first time voting Trump. Just like in 2016 when he said he was going to build that wall, I, as a Latino, knew he wasn't going to build it. But then lots of people, especially what do you guys see on TikTok? Whitey
He
people,
tried to, but he just failed.
but we all knew, especially Latinos, we all laughed at that idea. Especially the one where he said Mexico's going to pay for it. We all know that wall's never
Do
going to be
most
built.
Latinos agree with Trump's immigration policy?
Not as of the last 8 years, but as of the last 2 years, yes. That's why 48% of Latinos voted for Trump, and the Democrats
Most
didn't get that
Latinos
Latino
disagree.
vote.
Most
Like,
Latinos disagree with Trump's immigration policy now.
what's your source on that?
I got you.
Like, what does that mean? Latinos disagree with that because 48% of Latinos voted for Trump, and it's not for economy reasons.
That's not even most.
BS. I never said it was most. I said 48% of Latinos voted Trump. That should
Yeah,
never
and it's
be
even
the
less
case.
now. What is the approval
40
rating
but hear
amongst
me out, Parker.
Trump for Latinos?
48%. But 48% of Latinos shouldn't have voted for Trump. That should have never been the case. The Democrats, I don't put this on Mrs. Harris. She had an unfair campaign because Biden promised one term and switched up and said 2 terms. I blame the Democrats for not campaigning and
So you can find this from
failed
Pew
on
Research
pandering towards
Center.
Latinos.
Majorities of Latinos disapprove of Trump and his policies on immigration economy.
On what term? The second term?
This is recently, yes.
And who's doing the research? Who's getting surveyed?
About 4 in 5 say that Trump's policies harm Hispanics, a higher share than during his first
So
term.
with this logic, why are they voting Trump? Why did 48% of Latinos vote Trump then, according to this Pew Research and according to you as well? I would like to hear your opinion too, because you have a huge platform, right? And I think lots of Latinos look up to you. So why do you think 48% of Latinos voted Trump?
So I think that a
Like
lot of
me.
people had the idea that Trump was going to go after the most severe criminals, right, and the worst of the worst, and wasn't going to go after the average person. And they thought that Donald
What's
Trump
the
was
average person?
the average person who's just coming to the country for a better life.
Yeah. What does that mean? What's the average person? Like what
someone's
does that
family
mean?
member, someone they know in their life.
So what country? Like you said average. So average means these are getting backed up.
I'm not saying a specific country. I'm just saying, like, when I say average person, I meant
let's
like
just be more direct. I think let's just be direct, right? Because
I meant like someone that's going to be in someone's life. Someone like when we're talking about like how people vote, right? It's going to be based upon how they view things in their personal lives, typically. So for the most
you
people,
were going somewhere good. Latinos thought that someone else were going to get targeted and deported, and you said instead of the average. Okay, answer with me because you were doing good. According to Latinos, what's the average person getting targeted and deported by ICE from both parties since 2003 when it was created? Who's getting
I
targeted
don't know
and
if we have
deported the
numbers
most?
on the stuff since 2003. I don't know what you're specifically asking for. Can you clarify?
Since ICE was created in 2003 and Obama has the record for the most deportations, who's getting targeted and deported from ICE? Who? From what backgrounds? What nationality? If you want, I can answer.
Are you trying to say
we can
Latinos?
just cut the chase. Well, not trying to. That's what it is, right?
Oh,
It would be
okay.
great if you can just be real with me and just say Latinos.
No, I'm just genuinely curious, like with what you're trying to point to.
Did you not know it was Latinos being targeted and deported all these years? Did you think
course
it's
I
new
did.
under Trump?
Wait, it's not just Latinos though.
What do you mean? So
What?
Obama
You
has
don't
the
think
record.
Asian Americans are
Not
they're
compared to
affected?
Latinos.
You don't
Latinos
think
make over
African
80
Americans
some.
are affected?
No, compared to Latinos, the third because what you just mentioned, right?
Trump removed
Is
TPS, which affected Haitian migrants in this
hear me out,
country.
Parker. Let me finish one point real quick. You just brought up Asians and also African Americans, right? Good for them. They get deported too, but not compared to the Latinos, right? But when they do it the right way, Latinos, Asians, and or Africans, whatever you just said, who gets more converted paperwork out of those three? Do Latinos get more paperwork? The third biggest diversity, the third biggest, what's it called? The third biggest, I forget what it's called. But Latinos don't get approved the same as Asians or Africans even. Minority, sorry. English is not my first language. Minority.
That's okay. So like
Latinos are the third
about...
biggest minority in this country, but then they don't get the approved paperwork like you just mentioned. Asians, right? Asians get more paperwork on visas or any type of legal paperwork
I'm
than
not
Latinos.
sure on these demographic statistics, but if that's true, like we should obviously
Look
try
it
to
up
make
on
the
your
legal
own
process.
time, bro. You don't gotta believe me.
We should try
Look
to
it
make
up on your own time.
Yeah, we should try to make the legal process quicker for everyone.
No, because but that's only good for Europeans. That's only good for like Jews.
What? That's
The
good
people
for
who get
everyone. How
approved
is it
now.
only going to affect people who are European and Jewish?
Because let's just say, for example, Mrs. Harris said more judges, right? And for example, let's just say Mrs. Harris, I don't want to put this on her, but let's just say she made it faster or better for immigration. According to the numbers, the same people get approved anyway. It's not Latino. Latinos don't get approved any type of visa or any type
I
of
just want to
paperwork.
clarify. If she's advocating to increase how quick the process is, that would also make it quicker for people who are Latino as well.
Who are already getting passed and are getting it. Would you say the immigration system is not corrupt?
When you say corrupt, I mean I think that like there are issues. I
Even
don't
if
know
it's
if I would
margin,
say
it's
corrupt,
corrupt,
but I would
right?
say I don't know if I would say corrupt, but I would say there's definitely issues with how it's structured. Like I need it to go quicker. I think it takes too long.
So if it's not corrupt, we can both agree
What
that
what do you mean
Latinos
by
are the
corrupt?
ones.
Do you just mean bad?
Well,
Is that what you mean by corrupt?
no, what I mean is there's a reason why Latinos risk their lives crossing that river and desert. If they can do it
The
the
legal
right way, they
process
would.
takes way too long.
Exactly. So don't you think there's Latinos doing it the right way? So how come these
Of
Latinos
course,
are
but
not getting
can we make the
approved?
legal process go quicker? That's what I'm saying. We should support
But who does that benefit? That just benefits the people who are
everyone.
getting. No, it doesn't. How
It
does that
benefits
benefit
everyone who's trying to come to
Latinos?
the country, even the undocumented immigrants that are going to the country undocumented because the legal process takes too long. If we make the legal process quicker for them, do you think that they would choose to go through said legal process?
No, because
I
Latinos
disagree
know
with
within
you.
them. So why do you? Okay, hear me out. Why do you think? Okay, so you think Latinos risk their lives in the desert and river because the process is not quick enough? That you really think that, Parker?
It costs so much, the process isn't quick enough. Those are obviously like
What do
the
you mean?
reasons.
It's
Yes.
more expensive, the paperwork, the visa process.
I
That's
just
way more
explained. I
expensive.
just like explained financial costs and because of the fact that there are limitations in terms of how long it takes. So yes.
No, it's because they know that they're not gonna get they're never gonna get approved. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. How much Latinos get approved for any type of visa? It's a dead end. So these Latinos
Okay, so
risk
should
their
we
lives crossing the
so if
river and
Harris is advocating to approve more people, would you agree with that?
no, because
What?
why would I keep voting Democrat? Hear me out. Why? Let's just say Miss Harris said that, which she didn't really campaign for Latinos. Why would I keep voting Democrat if nothing
I
gets
disagree with
fixed?
you.
Obama had 8 years. Who has the most record for the most deportations, Parker, for Latino?
You would say nominally speaking
Obama.
Obama, but on a yearly
It's
basis it's
Obama.
Trump.
But no, but who has deported the most Latinos? It's Obama.
On a year
It
over year
shouldn't be
basis,
Democrats.
on a year over year basis it's Trump, but on a
Which
nominal
pages are
basis
Trump?
you're
Which
comparing
pages is
two
Trump
different
using right
amounts of
now?
years.
No, I'm saying what I'm saying is I used to hold Democrats to a higher standard and used to think that they cared about
So
us,
do you think that
but they don't.
Donald
They
Trump is
they
going to
Obama
perpetuate
took
less mass deportation
Obama.
policy?
You say what?
Do you think Donald Trump is going to perpetuate less mass deportation policy?
Yes, we're seeing that. Are you saying there's mass deportations right now?
So let me clarify real quick. You
No,
think that
no,
Trump?
no. Let me answer me, bro.
No, I just want. I
Is
just
there
want.
being mass deportations right now? Yes
Let
or
me
no?
clarify. Do you think
Because
the
you know,
border? Do you think the border would be more?
but see, you're not
If
real,
Harris were in
bro.
office, let me finish my point without like seriously. I'll let you make whatever point you want to make. Let me finish my point. Do you think that
Okay, man.
under a Harris administration the border would be more secure?
No, because of Biden.
Okay.
There
And
was a whole
what
Biden.
happened
There
under
was
Biden?
for the first time ever, I heard a term called border crisis. And when I looked into it, it's a thing where it was called a CB1 app, which Trump created before you start saying it. But what I started seeing is that's in the Mexican border. But then I started noticing there's no Latinos in the waiting line. There's not Latinos waiting in that desert. What I noticed is all these countries from around the world basically got a Mexican visa, flew to Mexico, and signed up on the CB1 app. And then Biden basically said, okay, come on in. But then who gets the blame of it? The Latinos. Who gets the blame of it? Mexico. But no one addresses that. For example,
Who was
who are
blaming
the
them?
top countries?
Who was blaming them?
Because who are getting? Who's getting deported right now?
Who is
That's
blaming them? Wait, can you tell me who is blaming Latinos?
I would say Americans, and also I would say ICE, because
Majority,
ICE is
majority
deporting.
ICE and Trump supporters, right? And Trump.
No, no, and Democrats at the time.
You can't acknowledge this.
What do you
So
mean?
do you agree that disproportionately it's
So
Trump,
much
right?
Democrats, so much Democrats switched up on immigration, and you know that. So much
Okay.
Democrats consumed fake news on that, and you know that.
Okay. I don't even know what your position is on immigration. Do you want there to be more
I want
immigration?
Democrats
Like,
to
what do you
be.
want?
I want Democrats to unalive on the immigration hill. I want them to, instead of spitting on Latinos' faces, I want them to actually do pathways to citizenship instead of, here you go, good boy, here's DACA, be a good boy now. That's all you're gonna get. I want Latinos to get a higher standard, because I think Latinos, 48% who voted Trump, was for immigration reasons, because Trump does results.
That's
Because
40% of Latinos that voted,
unfortunately,
not all Latinos. I just want to clarify. And also, can I like
I'm
so
saying
you
48%, bro.
you
I'm
want them
not
to do
trying
the
to
pathway to
gaslight you and say majority.
hold up.
Like, I'm saying
You
48%.
of those that voted. Now, for you're saying
Yes.
you
But
want
it shouldn't
Democrats
be
to
that close.
you're saying you want
But
Democrats to do a
Democrats should always get the Latino vote, just like they get the.
you're saying you want Democrats to do a pathway to citizenship. Okay? Well, I would love that as well. Now, that doesn't mean that you support Donald Trump's immigration policy over the Democrats. Aren't you going to support whatever is more ideologically similar to you, rather than just saying that you're going to, because Democrats didn't meet this ideal standard that you want of them, vote against them no matter what, even if it's to the detriment of Latinos who are trying to immigrate to this country, right? Of people who are going to be racially profiled, are going to be detained simply just for their accent. That's happened under this administration due to Donald Trump.
And is that new? That didn't happen under Obama, let's say,
The racial profiling that has been allowed is something
right?
that's been new, that's been brought in. The justification from the DHS justifying detaining those just for having an accent, that is new. Them changing the judicial warrants to make it, instead of using judicial warrants, administrative warrants, right? Specifically, that is new, right? There are countless things we can point to that are new.
So if that's new, right? So how come ever since 2003, or correct me, when ICE was created, how come it's Latinos being targeted and deported more than 80% if it's not them being harassed or targeted by Democrats? Because let's just say under 8 years of Obama, it was
I
all
never
those
said that they weren't
deportations.
targeted by Democrats. I just
So,
said
but
that there
how
wasn't
were
racial
they? How were they
profiling.
though? But how were they? How come the Africans weren't deported as much as under Obama? How come Middle Easterns? Why not Jews? Why not Canadians? Why not Europeans who abuse their visas? How come it's Latinos who get deported under Democrats if they don't target us or harass us? Because under Obama,
I never said that there's not
you can look
targeting
this
or
up.
harassing. I just said that there.
My
I just said that
my
you're
last
not
point.
addressing the facts that I'm mentioning. That
Yes,
significantly,
yes, I
right?
am.
Well,
I
no,
do
you're
take
not.
accountability on what. Yes, I do. I call out
What?
alligator
When did you
Alcatraz.
fact
I
that?
called.
When did
I
you address
called
the
out.
question I just asked?
I called out Trump's cages, which were Obama's cages. I
I'm
called
waiting.
that
I'm
out.
waiting to hear the response to my question. What was my question? Do you remember?
Yes.
What was
The
it?
question was, if there was a pathway to citizenship for Democrats. No, if you want a pathway to citizenship, why would you follow it under Trump's administration, especially when there's new policies being implemented where they're being where they're targeting Latinos and doing accents and all that BS you're saying. I'm not gonna lie, I
You're
tone out
not
to that
comprehending
because
what I'm saying.
yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Just just because you do that doesn't mean you're right, to be honest. That's why I've been saying earlier, you got to keep it real instead of talking like this.
I think
Because
you're
I'm not
not
like those
keeping it
other
real
people
right
you
now
bring up.
when you're
But you
trying to act like you did accurately represent what I just asked when you didn't accurately represent
then
what I asked.
correct me.
Yeah, I
I'm not
am.
trying to have pride and be like, then
I am.
correct me instead of wasting time here. Okay.
Okay. Well, I think that you're the one doing that. So I was specifically bringing up the fact that they were racially profiling. They're allowing you to take into consideration race as a basis and grounds to detain someone in consideration with other factors, which courts have determined they're applying in situations as a sole determinator, right? Also, we can point to the fact that they were justifying on the basis of the DHS detaining individuals based upon their accents. Right, we can point to specifically them using administrative warrants over judicial warrants, which allows for them to violate due process rights to a greater extent. Them expanding expedited removal to amounts that did not exist prior under the Obama administration to individuals that have been within the country for less than 2 years and anywhere within the jurisdiction of the country, when prior it was within 100 miles of the border and less than 2 weeks within the country from getting within the country.
So then how did Obama get the record then, if that's the case?
Because a lot of those are turnaways at the border that are counted as deportation.
So exclude that one, right? Turnaways at the border, because not gonna lie, that was an easy defense for Obama, how much were targeted when they weren't turned around in the border?
I would have to look specifically at the numbers. I'm pretty sure a majority or nearly half of them were specifically turned away at the border,
Okay,
and
and
that was counted
you
under
wouldn't
the
say that there were
deportations.
civil rights groups that were under Obama's term that basically said that they were being
There was.
targeted and harassed. So then Trump and Obama are doing the same thing, right? Just you're just saying that Trump is what, worse or something, or what are you trying to say here?
So it's not the same thing
Because
if one is. Listen, can I
how
please
you
finish?
just admitted that Obama did that.
It's not the same thing if one is worse than the other. So can you acknowledge that they've done
So
things that we disagree with or that we consider bad? Yes, of course. I of
no,
course can. Can I please finish? Of course I acknowledge
I'll
that.
mute myself.
Thank you very much. Of course I acknowledge that. But what you're not acknowledging is that I can consider that one is worse than the other. So again, like I said earlier, wouldn't you want to support the policy that is more ideologically similar to yours?
Or we call it the Democrats and call them out for the low standard they put on immigration. For example, why are we even comparing? For example, I'm
Okay,
an ex-Democrat.
I'm not. I'm at
What?
this point. I don't think
You're
you're
done?
actually trying to have a conversation with me. What do you even call out the low standard?
Oh, wow,
What
bro.
solution are you providing by
No,
voting
you
for
don't know
Donald Trump when he's has objectively worse policy based on your own policy positions?
that he's not, because results matter. Under Trump's first term, more
And you
Latinos
think
were
we have more
approved. These
results when
are you gonna let
Republicans
me
pull
talk or
back our
no?
no
Let's
because
go back and forth like this
I think
then.
it's so
See,
dishonest. You think we're gonna have
no, you're
more
crashing
of
out
an
because I'm calling
ability?
out the Democrats, bro. You
Be
don't
quiet.
like that.
You think we're gonna have more of an ability to be able to change things when you
Be
pull back
being
all of
rude.
our
Be quiet.
when you pull back all of our changing? You think that we're gonna have more of an ability to be able to change things? You can't vote against the ability for us to change things in the long run
Okay,
and then literally sit there and be like, you guys aren't doing enough. Well, you're preventing us from doing
bet,
stuff right now.
bet. So is I'm voting Democrats in the midterms to sabotage the Republicans. I'm also voting Democrat. I hope they pick AOC. Question for you: are the
Okay, well then
Democrats going
there's
to
no
abolish?
reason to talk to you anymore. No reason to talk to you. Let's go to the next individual. Only send a guest request if you meet that criteria on the screen. I cannot stand people that have positions like that. You're out of just wanting to get revenge for against Democrats. Not because you're more ideologically similar with Republicans. You're willing to support a that undermines our democracy, our rule of law, due process rights, literally disenfranchises immigrants to a greater extent, right, and due process rights in this country, right, leads to people being tortured by being sent to CCOT, right, in a concentration camp in El Salvador, right, right, we have literally people having restricted rights to abortion to a greater extent. We have limited EPA restrictions, right, in gutting of the Inflation Reduction Act. We have undermining of our economic standing around the world, the placement of tariffs, which disenfranchise working class people in this country. It's fucking embarrassing. It's like actually embarrassing that you're willing to harm that many people, let alone the 14 million. This is something that I wish people would bring up more. When I found this out, it was crazy. 14 million people will die by 2030 because of the fact that they've cut the U.S. aid funding. 14 million people that lives would have been saved, would have been prevented from dying, right? If we kept up the U.S. aid funding such as the Democrats had it established and such it was already established prior, before the whole situation where Trump undermines the U.S. aid funding. So 14 million people, and it's just like people on the left, because they want progressive change in this country to a greater extent, which they have no evidence will happen by supporting this, want to perpetuate a candidacy that inevitably will lead to that happening because of this maybe idea of an ideal in the future that we might get to, when inevitably this process and way of thought inevitably pulls back the very progress that we were creating in the very first place.